Welcome to the 13th episode of the Transient Thoughts podcast. Today, I'd like to talk about friends and enemies. There was a bombing in Britain at an Ariana Grande concert. And obviously, people are going to have a negative opinion of this circumstance, and they're going to have heightened emotions, both positive and negative, depending on how they're looking at the circumstance. On Reddit, I had made a comment because somebody was talking about keeping your friends close, etc. And I responded with a tenet of philosophy that I try to hold to now, which is keep your friends close and your enemies closer, because you might eventually learn to understand one another, apologize for any misunderstandings, and make a friend of that enemy. I got one response and it says, "You're an idiot." Maybe I'm an idiot, maybe I'm not, I don't know. What I am, I feel, is a compassionate person. I want to understand people. I want to figure out why people do what they do. And I feel that if you keep your enemies close, if you communicate with them, you will inevitably stop being enemies. You'll end up being friends. Now, that's not to say that it will always happen, of course. This isn't realistic to think like that. But if you act as a compassionate person on a regular basis towards both your friends and your enemies, I think you're going to do good overall. Often, though, emotions will get in the way, and they'll prevent you from doing that. And that's acceptable. That's okay. What's not okay, I feel, is to harbor those negative emotions and try to fight back immediately in every way possible as a sort of vengeance or revenge. But it's also not okay to take that anger and then just start tossing it all over everybody who even remotely has similar traits to that person or that group. Obviously, in this day and age, Muslims is a big issue. And if anybody who does anything and then they label themselves as a Muslim, then everybody wants to hate on the Muslims. And I look at Hanlon's razor, and it basically says, don't attribute to malice that which could be contributed to incompetence or ignorance. And often you could say that even bombing somebody, although malicious in its act, is perhaps not intentionally malicious. It could be intended because that person doesn't understand. And you shouldn't fight ignorance with more ignorance. Don't fight people who you think fit a certain specific bill just because it makes you feel better. Embrace as many people as you can. Obviously, you need to keep certain people at arm's length to some degree. Continue to watch them, continue to understand them so that you can make proper, informed decisions about them. People who are Muslim don't like this stuff. And there were going to be plenty of people who say, well, here's this survey that shows people who appreciate this stuff. A survey tells you nothing. A survey just pushes the narrative in your own mind. You go out and do the footwork. You go out and talk to those people and learn and try to convince them, try to educate them, try to make sense of their arguments for, and make sense of your own arguments against. Communicate with people. Try to have a dialogue, because when you stop trying to have a dialogue, you just end up with a monologue. You can't accomplish a dialogue. You can't accomplish bridging the gap of information and misinformation by yourself. It doesn't work. You have to step up and talk to people. And it's scary, especially if some of those people did something scary to you or your loved ones. But inevitably, just do what Mr. Rogers' mom did. Look for the helpers. They're always there. Maybe you can be one too.